You think when you go away, she instantly realizes your value and runs back to you. But most of the time, your absence does not create meaning. It exposes it. You think distance is a trick, a button, a move. But if you need to disappear just to be felt, the real problem started long before the silence. If you need reminders like this, subscribe now, because the world keeps feeding you comforting lies, and comfort is exactly what keeps you confused. You do not need more fantasy. You need truth you can return to when your emotions start begging for scraps. So here's what it really means when you go away. It does not automatically make her miss you. It does not automatically make her respect you. It does not automatically make her see your worth. What it does is force reality to breathe. It removes your effort. It removes your noise. It removes your chasing, your reassurance, your constant checking, your emotional volunteering. And when all of that is gone, what remains gets exposed. Her interest, your value, the nature of the bond, the illusion, the emptiness, the truth. That is the thesis. Your absence does not create truth. It reveals it. A lot of men get this completely backward. They believe the problem is that they were too available, too kind, too present, too caring. So they decide the answer is to pull back, go cold, act detached, become mysterious. But that is still weakness wearing a costume. Why? Because the center of your behavior is still her reaction. You are still orbiting her. You are still asking the same needy question in a different outfit. What do I need to do to make her feel something? That is not power. That is dependence with better branding. Hard truth. If a woman only notices you when you disappear, she was never grounded in you. She was reacting to access, not anchored in connection. And if you only feel powerful when she starts panicking over your silence, then you were never grounded either. You were addicted to being needed, not committed to being respected. Read that again in your mind. Needed is not respected. Chased is not chosen. Missed is not loved. So what actually happens in a woman's mind when you go away? It depends on what you were before you left. If you were overgiving, over-explaining, over-pursuing, constantly trying to prove yourself, then your absence often brings relief before it brings reflection. That stings, but it matters. Because what she was feeling was pressure, not presence. Obligation, not admiration. Emotional clutter, not clean masculine energy. You kept showing up with an unspoken demand. Validate me. Reassure me. Confirm me. Tell me I matter. Even if you never said the words, the energy said it for you. And when that energy disappears, the first thing she may feel is space. That's called emotional suffocation. Not because caring is wrong. Not because attention is wrong. But because attention without grounding becomes weight. Care without self-respect becomes persuasion. Presence without purpose becomes surveillance. Now flip the frame. If you were grounded, clear, calm, purposeful, warm but not begging, invested but not collapsing, then your absence feels different. Then silence has shape. It has gravity. It has contrast. She notices the missing steadiness. She notices the missing edge. She notices the missing piece. Not because you played a trick, but because what you brought had substance. Your voice regulated the room. Your presence had direction. Your attention was clean. You did not flood her. You met her. And when that kind of man goes quiet, she does not just feel the lack of contact. She feels the lack of a certain quality of reality. That is why you must stop asking, will she miss me if I pull away? And start asking, what does my presence feel like when I'm actually there? That question changes everything, because absence only works on the foundation presence built. If presence was weak, absence exposes weakness. If presence was anxious, absence exposes anxiety. If presence was performative, absence exposes emptiness. But if presence was solid, absence reveals value. This is where most men lose themselves. They become obsessed with what is happening in her mind while abandoning what is happening in their own. They imagine scenes. They replay texts. They study delays. They stare at social media like it is a sacred text. Is she thinking about me? Is she testing me? Is she waiting? Is she talking to someone else? Does she care? Slow down. Look at what that does to you. It fragments you. It turns your inner world into rented property. Every hour, your piece gets auctioned off to her next response. That's called self-abandonment. You stop eating right. You stop training. You stop focusing. You stop sleeping. You stop moving with clarity. You stop respecting your own day. You stop living like a man with a direction and start living like a man awaiting judgment. That is the cost. Not just losing her, losing your center. And when a man loses his center, he becomes dangerous to himself. Not because he becomes violent, because he becomes manipulable. He can be baited by attention, controlled by inconsistency, hooked by almost, trapped by potential. He starts calling pain chemistry. He starts calling confusion depth. He starts calling emotional instability passion. No, it is not passion. It is dysregulation. Understand why this happens. Human beings attach hardest where there is uncertainty tied to emotional reward. When you do not know where you stand, your mind fills the silence with fantasy. Fantasy is always more addictive than reality because fantasy bends to your longing. Reality asks for standards. Fantasy lets you worship a possibility. Reality forces you to examine a pattern. So when you go away, yes, sometimes she thinks about you more. But do not get drunk on that. Thought is cheap. Curiosity is cheap. Momentary longing is cheap. The question is not whether your absence enters her mind. The question is what position you hold in her reality. There is a difference between I wonder what he's doing and I respect that man. There is a difference between why did he stop texting and I feel the loss of his presence. There is a difference between anxiety and admiration. There is a difference between intrigue and trust. A lot of men settle for intrigue because it feels like power. It is not. Intrigue can be generated by inconsistency. Trust cannot. Curiosity can be triggered by withdrawal. Respect cannot. Respect comes from coherence, from standards, from emotional discipline, from a life that does not bend itself into a shape just to be chosen. That is the root cause of so much male confusion. You are trying to produce a result instead of becoming a reality. A result is temporary. A reality changes every interaction. Let's go deeper. What happens in her mind when you go away depends on the role you occupied in her emotional world. If you were entertainment, she replaces you with more entertainment. If you were attention, she looks for more attention. If you were utility, she notices the missing utility. If you were emotional labor she never asked for, she feels lighter. If you were a grounded man with standards, calm, mystery without games, warmth without weakness, then she feels the gap in a different way. Not panic, not chaos. Recognition. Recognition is powerful because it cannot be faked for long. She starts comparing, not because she is following a script, but because the nervous system remembers contrast. Most people do not know the value of peace until they spend time in noise. Most people do not know the value of sincerity until they spend time in performance. Most people do not know the value of a centered man until they keep meeting males who are loud, eager, reactive, and hollow. That is why your work is not to be unforgettable through drama. Your work is to be unmistakable through substance. And here is another truth men hate hearing. Sometimes when you go away, nothing happens. Nothing. No grand realization. No midnight paragraph. No sudden awakening. No emotional movie scene where she stares out the window and finally understands your worth. Sometimes she just continues. Why? Because the connection was not what you wanted it to be. Because you were more invested than she was. Because she liked what you gave, not who you were. Because your heart wrote poetry over data. Because you tried to negotiate genuine desire with effort. That is painful. But pain that tells the truth is a gift. You cannot build self-respect on denial. You cannot lead your life with your head while your ego keeps editing the evidence. If your absence changes nothing, accept what that means. Do not chase harder. Do not perform a stronger silence. Do not turn your life into a strategy session. Accept the information. Feel the hit. Stand up straighter. Move. Because the cost of not accepting it is enormous. You waste months, years. Emotional years are expensive. You burn your confidence trying to revive what was never alive. You keep one foot in fantasy and wonder why your life feels weak. You lose the sharpness in your speech. You lose the steadiness in your eyes. You lose the discipline in your habits. Not because she ruined you, because you kept kneeling to an outcome that was not yours to control. Listen carefully. A man is never more fragile than when he confuses attachment for destiny. She feels special is not destiny. I can't stop thinking about her is not destiny. We had a strong connection is not destiny. If I say the right thing, maybe it comes back is not destiny. Sometimes it is just longing. Sometimes it is ego. Sometimes it is loneliness wearing her face. That is why the reframe matters. When you go away, your goal is not to make her feel loss. Your goal is to stop betraying yourself. Your goal is not to force perspective into her mind. Your goal is to restore perspective to your own. Your silence is not a tactic. It is a boundary. It is the moment you stop auditioning. It is the moment you return your energy to its rightful owner. That is masculine self-respect, not dominance, not emotional cruelty, not fake detachment, self-respect. The refusal to beg where clarity is absent. The refusal to perform where reciprocity is missing. The refusal to stay confused because your feelings are intense. Intensity is not instruction. Now let me paint the archetype for you because men need an image of what right looks like. The man who changes the room is not the loudest man. He is not the man trying to prove he can lose someone. He is not the man posting indirect messages, manufacturing jealousy, pretending not to care while secretly checking his phone every 6 minutes. He is not brittle. He is not theatrical. He does not need to punish distance with distance. He does not need to act cold to feel in control. He is grounded. He knows where his feet are. He knows what his day is for. He knows what matters before any woman enters the frame. He has work to do, a body to train, a mind to protect, a standard to keep. He can love deeply without dissolving. He can care without chasing. He can listen without surrendering his judgment. He can be patient without becoming passive. He can be open without becoming available to nonsense. He is calm because his identity is not on the table in every interaction. That is the man. When he speaks, there is no begging hidden in the sentence. When he leaves, there is no performance hidden in the silence. When he returns, there is no resentment hidden in the smile. He is clean with himself. Women feel that. People feel that. The world feels that. Because most people are made of mixed signals. Most people say one thing, chase another, fear a third, and present a fourth. Coherence is rare, and rarity has gravity. So if you want to know what happens in a woman's mind when you go away, become the kind of man whose absence means something because his presence meant something. Not more messages. More weight, not more access. More quality, not more performance. More reality. And that takes work. Here is the practical sequence. Tight. Clear. No romance about it. Stop contacting her just to regulate your own anxiety. If your hand reaches for the phone because you need relief, put it down. That message is not connection. That message is medication. Stop using silence as theater. If you are going away while secretly hoping she panics, you are still trapped. Real space is not a stunt. Real space is a decision. Stop checking signals that keep you emotionally hooked. The stories, the likes, the online status, the little breadcrumbs, that is not information. That is self-poisoning. Name the pattern accurately. Was she actually invested or were you surviving off fragments? Did she show up consistently or did you build a kingdom out of moments? That's called data. Respect it. Redirect your energy into visible structure. Train your body. Clean your room. Finish the work. Build your plan. Handle your money. Re-enter your routines with violence if you have to, but do it. Motion breaks obsession. Tell the truth to one trusted man, not 10 confused voices online. Speak plainly. I got attached. I lost my center. I'm getting it back. That sentence has more power than 100 fake alpha quotes. If she reaches out, do not melt. Read the contact for what it is. Is it real effort? Is it clarity? Is it accountability? Is it consistent? Or is it a pulse check because she felt your absence and wanted to confirm access? Those are not the same thing. If you respond from standards, not starvation. Short, calm, clear. No punishment. No overexcitement. No emotional dumping. If there is something real to build, it will survive dignity. If there is not, let it die without dragging your identity into the grave with it. That is how a man reclaims himself and understands something deeper. The real transformation is not that you stop wanting her. The real transformation is that wanting stops outranking truth. That is maturity. That is power. Not numbness. Not cynicism. Alignment. You can want someone and still walk away. You can love someone and still require clarity. You can miss someone and still refuse confusion. You can feel deeply and still choose yourself. That is strength. Controlled strength. Clean strength. The kind that does not announce itself because it does not need witnesses. A lot of men hear this and fear they will become hard. No, you do not become hard. You become clear. And clear men love better than needy men ever will. Because clear men do not love as extraction. They do not give to secure. They do not promise to avoid abandonment. They do not collapse boundaries just to keep a person nearby. Their love is not a hostage negotiation. Their love is a gift from a full hand. That is why, paradoxically, when you stop centering your life around whether she misses you, you become far more memorable. Not because you are playing a game, because your energy changes. You are no longer reaching from lack. You are standing in substance. And substance is unforgettable to people living in a world of performance. Now let's address the fantasy directly. If I leave, she'll finally understand. Maybe. Sometimes. But understand what? Your value or your absence? The two are not identical. Plenty of people miss access to what they never truly respected. Plenty of people want back the comfort they did not honor when they had it. Do not confuse being revisited with being valued. That's called recycled attention. And recycled attention is one of the biggest traps for men rebuilding their self-respect. She comes back lightly, casually, a little message, a little warmth, a little nostalgia. And because you were starving, you turn crumbs into covenant. You think, this is it. She sees me now. Slow down. Calm down. Watch patterns. Truth always lives in patterns. Is she clearer than before? Is she more consistent than before? Is she meeting you or just reopening the door to your availability? Is she offering presents or sampling access? Ask better questions and your life changes. Because the issue is not whether a woman thinks about you when you go away. Of course, human beings think about what shifts, what ends, what disappears, what changes the emotional weather. The issue is what you do with that fact. Weak men turn it into strategy. Strong men turn it into standards. Weak men say, good, now I know how to trigger her. Strong men say, good, now I know what was real. One path makes you manipulative and hollow. The other path makes you free. Choose freedom. Freedom is waking up and not checking who validated your existence overnight. Freedom is texting with intention, not compulsion. Freedom is feeling attraction without becoming owned by it. Freedom is being able to say, I like you, but I will not abandon myself to keep this. Freedom is understanding that your peace is not the price of admission to anyone's inconsistent heart. This matters beyond women. This is your whole life. The man who keeps begging for clarity and love is usually begging for clarity everywhere. From bosses, from friends, from family, from the world. He waits to be chosen before he acts chosen. He waits for permission to respect himself. He waits for consensus to start becoming who he is. No more. Your life cannot be built on waiting rooms. You want to know the deepest thing that happens in a woman's mind when you go away? If you were truly centered, your absence forces her to meet herself. No more managing your availability. No more casually receiving your effort. No more assuming you will always be there in the same form. Your disappearance changes the mirror, and people learn a lot when the mirror changes. But hear me clearly. Her lesson is not your mission. Your mission is your lesson. Your lesson is this. Never become so emotionally hungry that you measure your worth by whether someone notices your silence. Never become so externally focused that your discipline dies every time your heart gets involved. Never become so desperate for connection that you abandon the man you are supposed to be building. Build him. Build the man who does not need to go away to feel powerful. Build the man whose attention is valuable because it is honest. Build the man whose standards are visible in his pace, his language, his posture, his choices. Build the man who can walk away without rage and stay away without collapse. Build the man who does not call confusion chemistry. Build the man who is kind but not cheap. Open but not porous. Present but not pleading. Warm but not weak. Capable of love but loyal first to truth. That man is rare. That man is dangerous in the best sense. Not because he controls people, because he cannot be easily controlled. He sees clearly. He chooses carefully. He gives deliberately. He leaves decisively. He returns only where reality invites him, not where fantasy seduces him. Become that man, and the entire question changes. You stop asking, what happens in her mind when I go away? You start asking, what kind of life am I returning to when I leave what drains me? That is the real power shift. Because once your life becomes strong enough, meaningful enough, disciplined enough, alive enough, absence is no longer an event you stage for someone else. It is just your natural refusal to remain where you are not met. And when a man reaches that point, he does not feel empty in the silence. He feels clean in it. Clean. That word matters. Clean from overthinking. Clean from chasing. Clean from proving. Clean from emotional bargaining. Clean from the humiliating need to be half-loved and call it hope. And from that cleanliness, something beautiful happens. You become more attractive, yes. But more importantly, you become more available to your own life. You can hear yourself again. You can think again. You can focus again. Your humor comes back. Your edge comes back. Your appetite for work comes back. Your standards come back. You stop feeling like a beggar outside someone else's emotional door. That is the comeback, not getting the text, getting yourself back. So if you are in that place right now, staring at your phone, replaying the last conversation, wondering whether your silence is making her miss you, hear me with absolute clarity. Maybe it is. Maybe it is not. That is not your first concern anymore. Your first concern is whether this silence is finally making you hear yourself. Are you done chasing mixed signals? Are you done performing value instead of building it? Are you done calling crumbs a connection? Are you done negotiating with your own dignity? Good. Then act like it. Put the phone down. Lift your standards up. Let the confusion burn off. Let the withdrawal pass. Let the fantasy starve. Let reality speak. And if reality says she was never yours in the way you hoped, respect reality. If reality says you were too needy, respect reality. If reality says you lost yourself, respect reality. If reality says there is still something real worth exploring, move slowly and make reality prove itself over time. No panic. No grand gestures. No emotional theater. Just truth. Just standards. Just self-respect. Because in the end, the question was never whether your absence could change her mind. The real question was whether this moment could change yours, whether pain could finally make you honest, whether silence could finally make you disciplined, whether disappointment could finally make you stronger in the right way. Let it. You do not need to become colder. You need to become clearer. You do not need to become less loving. You need to become less willing to betray yourself. You do not need to become someone else. You need to return to the man who knows his worth without demanding applause for it. That is why you are the answer. Not her response. Not her confusion. Not her curiosity. You. Your standards. Your direction. Your ability to stand in truth when your feelings are loud. Your willingness to walk away from what weakens you and build what restores you. That is the answer. That has always been the answer. And if you want more truth like this, subscribe, because you will need these reminders when emotion starts trying to sell you lies again. Stay close to voices that sharpen you, not voices that sedate you. You are not alone in this. There are men rebuilding themselves in truth right now. Stand with them. Then go become one of them.